Hi everyone, this is Raquel from scrapcosy, and today I'm going to show you how to create these two cards. I will be using three products that you may have seen in other videos: the Metallic Gilding Polish Paint by Cosmic Shimmer, Infusions and Brusho. My first step is getting a piece of paper. This is like a watercolor paper, actually it's a sketch pad. And what I'm doing is fixing it to a flat surface, in this case it's an oven tray, and I'm fixing it with this tape. I have the embossing folder by my side just to make sure that it fits. What I'm going to do next is applying a glaze on top of that paper. This glaze I made it myself with a little bit of modpodge and water. You can check the proportions in the video that I used the infusions for the first time. There is a link to this video on the corner of the screen right now. Here I'm putting infusions up top, a little bit just, and then you can see that when you apply the glaze it gets, well, this effect. And on the other side of the paper I'm going to apply the Brusho. And you'll see that because I've put a little bit more, it's a bit more intense, and also it doesn't have this brown shade of the walnut crystals that the infusion has, so it's more pure color. To dry the glaze you can either leave it air dry or apply it with a heat tool, and at this point I was doing that. But since I saw that the infusion was a bit poor, I decided to go back again with a bit more of glaze and a bit more of infusion, so I could get a more vibrant and intense result and with more texture. And now I was more satisfied, so then I again heat set it so I could move on to the next step, which is applying the embossing with the embossing folder. And to do that, now I remove the tape. You need to make sure that you pull it outside the paper and not towards inside, so then you don't break it. And once this step is done, then I'll use the cuttlebug with the A plate, B plate on top, then my embossing folder with the paper and another B plate. And I have embossed one side of it, and I go again to emboss the remaining of it, same way. And then I decided to go for a step that I was looking forward so long ago to do, which was actually painting the embossed surface. And when I bought this paint, I realized that this was the proper product to use. As you see, I'm putting it on top, so then the embossed gets a bit highlighted. I don't mind if it actually gets a bit dirty, if you call it that way, because I want to achieve like a mixed media effect, and I think I more or less managed. And the next thing that I'm doing is using the same paint, so then it's the same color as the background that I'm using, on top of a stamp, and I'll be stamping with that. In the first impression, I didn't do it right, but it was because the sketchbook had many pages in between, so I decided to pull the actual sheet and then stamp again. And this time the expression was good, and what I did next was actually embossing it in clear. I wanted to do that just to fix the paint, although you actually don't need that because the paint dries very quickly, but it also gives a bit of the embossing texture, so a bit of dimension. You heat emboss it with a heat tool, and then here I'm just cutting a stripe, which I will later adjust to the actual size of the card. I'm trimming down to the two backgrounds for the postcard, and I'm not taking into account the paper. I mean, if the line that I'm cutting is aligned to the paper, but I'm aligning actually to the embossing folder pattern. And now that I have that, it's time to prepare the card bases. I'm just using a 300 grams paper for that, and I'm just marking half an inch on each side of the background paper, and using the Cobalt I'm marking where to fold the cards, and then I'll trim the excess on the bottom part, so then I make sure that my background is actually framed in the center. So now we have the card bases, and we are going to assemble the card. But first I'm going to show you what can happen if you actually use paint in a stamp. If you use paint in a stamp, unless you clean it like I'm doing now, you will not get a good impression because it will be too saturated. but in the last one I cleaned and then I reapplied, and as you can see, maybe it's much better now. So now it's time to actually trim those stripes to the actual size of the card and assembling it together. So I'm using this roller glue on top of the card base, not on top of the embossed surface, because I don't want to flatten it down. And then I'll be edging all the margins, all the borders, both on the Celebrate and on the card, with some tea distressed ink, the tea dye. And then I'll be applying some foam adhesive on top of the Celebrate, so then it stands out a little bit. And I wanted to do the same on the other card, but then I had a better idea. What if instead of using the ink, I use actually the metallic polish paint to age it? But then I thought, okay, let's go a bit further, and what I'm going to do is actually painting the background, as you can see here, on a metallic finish. So then you don't have to paint everything, but when you put it on top, it will make the impression that it's actually everything is metallic. So now to make it a bit more vintagey, I'm just applying some of the ink on the borders for the Brusho part of it, and I'm sticking it on top of the card base, again putting the glue on the card base, not on the embossed paper. And once I have that, I will stick again the Celebrate with some foam adhesive, same as before, and more or less stick it at the same place. So that's the final step, and after that we'll have our 2 postcards ready. So I hope you liked it. Here are some close-up photos of the resulting cards, where you can see the details achieved by using these 3 products. And if you want to know more about these products, on the top right corner you can see Infusions versus Brusho, a video where I explain how to use these products for the first time, so click there if you want to see it. And then underneath that you will see the Metallic Gilding Polish Paint, and in that video I explain how to use this paint for the first time and the different materials where it can be applied, and I use it to transform an old wooden frame into a fabric pinboard. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!